from what I'm gathering, it's like Super Bowl or bust here, man. I mean, it's a little bit ridiculous, and I say that a little bit jokingly, but the expectations are at an all-time high. I mean, an all-time high. We can't blame Howie Roseman if we're looking at what he did this offseason. So fans don't know what to do with themselves. You know, as Ricky Bobby would say, I don't know what to do with my hands. I mean, things are just going so well. And fans are excited. And I think really what it comes down to, and it always does in this city.
Appreciate you streaming in with us here on Birds 365. John McMullen, Jody McDonald, and Ryan Rothstein of WIP, good enough to hop aboard with us for a couple of minutes today. Rothstein, how's your summer going?
J-Mac, how we doing? And the other J-Mac.
Yeah, the other. Come on. Ryan and I used to be on the air together in South Jersey, 97.3, 1490. So bit of a reunion, Jody Mac. But I get the other Mac. That tells you the cachet of Jody Mac.
Listen,
no, he said J-Mac.
I'm joking. I'm joking. It's
you don't know.
I'm just busting.
Only Rusty knows for sure which J-Mac he was referring to.
That's true. Exactly. That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. Nice save for Jody and Ryan. Ryan, all right. Let's start with one of your new gigs on WIP. You get the overnight ship, so I imagine you get a very eclectic bunch of Eagles fans at times, maybe the more conspiracy-based Eagles fans. What do you think the temperature of the fan base is right now when it comes to this team? Because expectations seem to be through the roof at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Jody Mack and I can compare notes here. I know he's often 10-2. He's doing weekends now with his old buddy Glenn Mack. A lot of Macks here, but from what I'm gathering, it's like Super Bowl or bust here, man. I mean, it's a little bit ridiculous, and I say that a little bit jokingly, but the expectations are at an all-time high. I mean, an all-time high. We can't blame Howie Roseman if we're looking at what he did this offseason. So fans don't know what to do with themselves. You know, as Ricky Bobby would say, I don't know what to do with my hands. I mean, things are going so well. And fans are excited. And I think really what it comes down to, and it always does in this city, you two know as well as anyone, is the quarterback. But I hate to tell you, I think it's a fair conversation, and I hate to, drive this conversation to the quarterback spot. But I think Howie made a tactical, decision heading into this offseason, which was let's build this roster and then surround the quarterback with talent. And he's either our guy or not our guy. Either way, we're going to hit a home run this offseason. So that's how I looked at
it. Have they done enough to make the pieces around Jalen Hurts good enough? A lot of it, the majority of it sits in his own lap. Is he going to improve? There is room for improvement. Now, can he pull it off? Did Howie accomplish what you just alluded to? Did he give him enough weapons so that you can have faith that Jalen Hurts is going to take the step, is going to grab the team by the throat and say, this is my team going forward?
My goodness. I don't know what else he would need, right? I mean, I'll ask both of you this question. I talked about this on WIP a couple days ago. What should we expect stats-wise from Jalen Hurts this year? I mean, I was listening to start the show. You're talking about the offensive line, best in the NFL. I'm not disputing that. Look at the wide receivers. Duo, arguably top 3 in the NFC. I mean, however you want to categorize it, I don't care. It's pretty damn good. Top 5 to 10 tight end. I mean, you look at this offense, what stats should follow with it? I mean, I think he should have a borderline fantastic season. So there's a lot of pressure on him and this coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, Ryan, I hate to be too Jim Schwartz or Jonathan Gannon like, but and it's not a stat, and I hate when people say quarterback win-loss record, but if he wins games, everybody's happy. And if they're not winning games, I don't care if you throw for 400 yards or rush for 100 and A.J. Brown gets 2 touchdowns, Devontae Smith gets another. people are not going to be happy. So I think it's more about managing the game, making the right decisions at the right times, making big plays at the right times, and getting the team over the hump. But I got to tell you, if the expectations are Super Bowl or bust, and we'll go back to Ricky Bobby, if you're not first place, you're last. Eagles fans are going to be disappointed. You're skipping steps. I use that term all the time. I mean, this team's not going to win the Super Bowl. It's June 16th. Mark it down, Jody Mack, as the official record keeper of this show. Johnny Mack, the Eagles are not going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to be a good football team. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. So if that's your expectations, you're kind of out of whack, I would say, to the fan base. Am I jumping off? Am I going too far?
Listen, I'm not expecting this team to win the Super Bowl. All right. So I'll agree with you there. If you take away the quarterback, once again, I look at this roster. Where do you rank this roster? Like, it has a little bit of a Denver Broncos feel to it before acquiring Russell Wilson, right? Like, I know Jalen's not there. I know the coaching staff is super young and new. You look at the upgrades they made on the defensive side of the ball. You look at the offense right now, assumingly all healthy, as we've just discussed. Where do you rank this roster on paper? I mean, even if we want to take the quarterback position out of it.
I would say it's top 10 easily. From my perspective, 2 through 52, I say it all the time. I tell Jody, 2 through 52, I think the Eagles are now better than the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the favorite in Vegas still, favorite in most sports books, and there's a reason. That's because Jalen Hurts isn't Dak Prescott. He's got to take that next step. Can he take that next step?
I'll go a little bit different. I'll give you a number, because both you and John kind of alluded to it's more about what the team does, and I understand that. But if we want to narrow focus, 3,700 yards passing. He was 31 this past year. He missed 2 games, missed one in season against the Jets. Gardner Minshew went in, played well, thought he was going to steal the job. Nick Sirianni said, no, not happening, big guy. And then, of course, he didn't play the last game of the season in the toss JV game against the Cowboys. So you add those 2 games. This is, of course, assuming health. That's why you put the top number on the expectation that the quarterback's going to play all 17 games. And you add A.J. Brown, and you add the fact that the Eagles are going to try and throw the football more than they did last year. I don't think 3,700 yards is an unrealistic request for Mr. Hurts this year when he threw for 3,100 last year. Bump it up by 600 yards. You should get that just by playing the 2 extra games and not even worry about the fact that they're going to change the play call and they're going to add A.J. Brown. As I'm saying it, I'm going, well, maybe I should have gone 38 or 39.
You got to get it from that perspective. You got to get the 4,000 right, because Jody, you bring up, you're talking about 17 games. Well, he didn't play 2 games. He had the injured game, and he sat out week 18. So even if he has bad games, say 200, you're already at 35, right? So yeah, you need some improvement. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith in year 2. Quez Watkins is the best third receiver in football, according to our buddy Ross Tucker. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because I don't agree with Ross there. Dallas Goedert's phenomenal. The offensive line. Why not 4,000?
Yeah.
I'll throw 4,000 out there. Is that too much, Ryan?
No, I mean, yes, but no, right? Like, I don't believe in Jalen. I should have started this with that, but that's not too much. If you look at this offense, that's sort of my whole encompassing point is you look at this team offensively. I mean, my goodness, I know it's not fair to say this, but what would Russell Wilson put up numbers wise if this was his offense? So I think the expectations should be not Russell Wilson-like, but you have a top 5 to 10 offense here on paper. So you got to do at least something half decent with it.
I'll tell you why I'm not going to go to 4,000. Ryan, I know you know John well, as do I now. He's a big Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. He may be bigger than me. What do you think Rodgers threw for last year? Missing a game like Jalen, who missed 2. Rodgers missed 1. What do you think he threw for, John?
Probably 3,800, somewhere in that range.
41, but he's supposedly the best quarterback in the National Football League. Now we want Jalen Hurts to be able to sneak up on Aaron Rodgers. I'm not ready to go there just yet.
Yeah, and I talk about one guy I always bring up because I think people will be shocked, and I bring it up all the time, is Kirk Cousins. Because if you both go back to Washington his days, so this is a very long time. It's like his numbers are unbelievable as far as yardage, year after year after year after year. My point is, throwing for 4,000 yards is not necessarily a good thing, because a lot of times you got to be behind and you got to be throwing the football because you're behind, or things of that nature. Or the fact, a lot of it is you can just sling it, and a lot of it is you have good weapons, and a lot of it is that. But common sense, if you're up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, which is where you want to be, you start turning around and handing the football off, and that skews down your passing numbers. And that's why I started with, as you know, people think it's hyperbole when Gannon says it or Schwartz says it. I don't give a shit. Give me the win. Give me the win. We can say shit on here. YouTube. Give me the win. I don't care. Give me the win. And that's where I think the Eagles are, especially if it's about expectations in Super Bowl or bust. I mean, give me the win. How am I going to get hooked by hook or by crook? And Nick Sirianni says it all the time. Are you going to be a pass-heavy offense? He says, I don't know. Who are we playing that week? What do they do? What's my best way to get over the hump? And to Nick's credit, he proved that last season, right? I mean, they started 2-5. They're trying to throw the ball. They weren't successful. And all of a sudden they show up in Las Vegas and say, we're going to run it. And they made the run to the playoffs. So the coach deserves credit for that as well.
It was strictly on the ground, though, right? I mean, I give him a ton of credit for making that adjustment in year one. Says, throws everything out, throws the entire playbook out, and decides to become a running team, which is impressive for him to make that decision, the coaching staff to make that decision. But you gotta throw the football, right? So it's like, now this year, what's your identity going to be? Man, it sounds great, everything you're saying, John, like week-to-week basis, you attack the weakness of the opponent. I love that. Sign me up for that. I don't know how realistic that is. I think you still need to have some type of fundamental identity as an offense, and I'm curious as to what that will be.
All right, Ryan, we're talking about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and the number of yards he's going to be accumulate, and we believe that's the way the Eagles are going to attack it. Let's say they have to lean back on the running game this upcoming year for whatever reason. A.J. Brown goes down, and they put a system in place that he's supposed to be a star, and then he's not available. If they return to being a run-first team, is Miles Sanders going to be good enough? Is Miles Sanders going to be able to stay healthy enough? Will the Eagles rely on Miles Sanders, even if they're not going to be, quote-unquote, bell cow back type team? Somebody's got to get more carries than anybody else. Is Miles Sanders the guy this year, motivated enough with the fact that this is his last year on the contract?
The answer is yes, but I say it hesitantly. I mean, I think McMullen knows this. I'm not a big Miles Sanders guy. I like him.
Who are you, a big guy? You're not a Jalen guy? You're not a Miles guy? Who on the Philadelphia Eagles?
Brian's making friends. Making friends.
No one. Jason Kelsey. How about that?
There you go. Good choice.
Yeah. Now, listen, I like Miles Sanders. I just think he's this is common theme here today. He's a little bit overhyped by many. That's all.
Oh, yeah. So, well, that's true. I mean,
he's not a bell cow guy. That's all.
Speaking of our old days on the radio, this was like in Miles' second year. Somebody brought up, I think it was Dalvin Cook, and I said, no, Dalvin's, a lot better than Miles Sanders. I never got so much criticism in my life. How could you say I got what, because I watch football? I mean, it's not really close. people seem to know that now, but at the time they're like, Miles was so good as a rookie, and he's a natural pass catcher. How'd that work out? And the fact is that he is a good player, but the Eagles when Deuce Staley was here, Deuce would never, for those who don't know Deuce, would never criticize players. He criticized Miles Sanders and I think part of it was because he did understand the talent level, and he became a little bit frustrated. And he said at the time he had to tighten up his hands. He had to, he was having difficulty in pass protection, leaving yardage on the field, always trying to bounce things outside. So he's always been a little bit frustrating, I think, for the Eagles and the coaching staff, both coaching staffs. Is he ever going to be that superstar back? Probably not. And this is probably, let's be honest, this is probably going to be Miles Sanders last year in Philadelphia. Because I'll say this to you, I've asked a lot of people, so I ask you, Ryan, what is the path to Miles Sanders being back in Philadelphia? Because he's going to be a free agent. If he has a great year, the Eagles aren't going to want to pay him because they don't value the position. If he has a bad year, they're not going to want him. So is there even a path for him to be back in Philadelphia next year?
Probably not. I think the only path is a path we don't want to see. Is him missing time. And I don't want that to happen. I'm never rooting for anyone to miss time. Yeah. Him missing time, and then the running backs that are playing aren't that impressive. So you get him on a cheaper deal, maybe, right? Like that. That's the only way I see him returning. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not rooting for that. I'm not pulling for that. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. I just don't see him
that's a good
back.
point. Injury, you bring him back and say, all right, at a cost-effective deal because he won't cost a lot of money. But those avenues are not things you want to see happen.
No.
You want to see him on the field. You want to see him playing at a high level.
Yeah.
And if he does that, I don't know if the Eagles, unless he turns into Jonathan Taylor or Dalvin Cook or Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. I don't see that happening though.
All right, Double R, let's flip it over to the other side of the ball. I'm going to need your defensive crystal ball look here.
Okay.
Can either be a new Philadelphia Eagle or a returning Philadelphia Eagle. What defensive player is going to make Jonathan Gannon look the best this year? That he's going to get done what needs to be done at his position so that Gannon can run the type of defense that he wants. Are you going with a new bird or an old bird as to the guy who puts big marks on the score sheet on a week in, week out basis, whatever those may be, tackles, turnovers, pressures, whatever you think is going to make a big difference for the Eagles? Who's that player who's going to be the number one guy grabbing attention in Jonathan Gannon's defense?
It's a good question. I would probably go with a new guy who's a local guy, Hassan Reddick, right? I mean, that's a guy that has a lot of talent and ability. And if you're smart enough as a DC, you can do a lot of different things with him. So we'll see what Jonathan Gannon's able to do and what he's able to dial up, assuming everyone's healthy. But I'll go with that as my answer. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I think it's a good answer, Ryan, because I've said it. I think Jonathan Gannon's trying to play Vic Fangio's defense or Brandon Staley's version of Vic Fangio's defense. And if you think about that, who are the players? Yeah, who was the star in Chicago when Vic was there setting the world on fire? Khalil Mack. Who did Brandon Staley just acquire? Khalil Mack. That's what Hassan Reddick is going to be in this defense. That player, can he live up to that hype? He's probably not going to be Khalil Mack, but he's going to have every opportunity to make splash plays. So while I think Jordan Davis might be more important, I think to the fan base, they're going to notice Hassan Reddick way, way more than Jordan Davis. Jody, your
Agreed.
thoughts?
I got no problems with Hassan Reddick. was lobbying for his signing, not this year, last year when he hit the free agent market before he did a year with his old coach down there in Carolina, his Temple guy, Matt Rule. So love the fact that he has him here. All right, we point to this probably more than we need to, Ryan, but what can we say? We're tough critics. Safety is the position of weakness for the Philadelphia Eagles. All apology to Marcus Epps, who may step up and turn out to be a very good starter. He's never done it before. He's been a situational substitution guy, and this year he's going to be their starting safety. At least I believe that. I don't think that's going to be a position, and Howie Roseman is going to be able to upgrade before the season starts. I hope I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it. Will this something that you and I will have to be dealing with on the phones on WIP? Why don't we have a better safety? Why didn't we upgrade safety? What was Howie Roseman thinking about at safety? Is that calls that we're going to have to be dealing with for the next 4 or 5, if not 6 months, Ryan?
I know. Can't wait for those calls, Jody. They're going to be awesome. I mean, for me, it's like, what do you want, right? I'm not going to start blasting the Eagles front office right now for their failure to upgrade the safety position when you look at everything that they've done. Let's give it a year, right? Maybe Marcus Epps can do enough and the defense in front of him can do enough. What about Kayvon Wallace, right? Like, let's see what that kid can do, right? I mean, he's had a bad go at things, I think, so far early in his career. So, yeah, it is going to be a weakness. But most defenses do have more than one weakness. And right now, I think the Eagles, it's really safety is the only glaring one.
It's interesting because we're usually talking about linebacker as a weakness. No more. Yeah. But there's still uncertainty when it comes to linebacker and who's going to be playing. TJ Edwards, Kaiser White, Nakobe Dean. I'll even throw Davion Taylor in the mix. It's a nice problem to have. It's a problem the Eagles haven't had. We're typically not looking at, hey, who's going to play, because you only have 2 options. So if I give you those 4 names and throw them in a hat, Ryan, and say 2 are going to get the majority of the snaps, who are those 2 going to be?
It's another good question. I mean, you have to feel like White's going to be getting plenty of playing time. TJ Edwards, I feel like if it's a third down or if it's a running situation, right, you're going to try and throw him in there. And Nakobe Dean, we don't really know unless I've missed something, his health-wise, right? Like when we could get the full version of him as far as, we have him available, right? So, I mean, I think it's going to be TJ Edwards and White. You're going to get plenty of Davion Taylor mixed in there. And then hopefully we get Nakobe Dean healthy, because that could be the steal of a lifetime for Howie Roseman and the Eagles. I can't wait to see that kid once he's healthy and ready to go. So he obviously throws a wrench into the plans there in the best way possible. So that's my weak answer.
All right, Ryan, if the Eagles get off to a slow start offensively this season, and you can define that any way you want, slow start, the schedule early is not tough. Some beatable defenses early on their schedule. If the offense doesn't come out clicking and isn't going well, certainly the quarterback is going to hear about it unless he's throwing for 300 yards. If he's throwing for 300 yards, how can you say the offense isn't clicking? Who's it going to fall on as far as the critique goes from Eagle Nation? Is it going to be Shane Steichen, who we found out is the play caller, was the play caller for the second half of the season, is the play caller to start 2022, or is the critique going to fall on the head coach? Even though he says, I'm trusting in my guy, Shane Steichen, I contribute all week. This is a collaborative effort. Who is going to feel the wrath of the Eagle fans if the offense starts slowly this year?
Well, if the offense is faltering, it's going to fall on Shane Steichen. And I think that's, I don't want to say not fair, because this is Philadelphia Eagles, professional football here in the city of Philly. So, life ain't fair. But I think fans focus in on that a little bit way too much. Like the play calling. It's like, all right, relax. But it's going to be Shane Steichen, and then it's going to be Nick Sirianni mixed in with a little quarterback, of course. And that's nothing new. But I think Shane Steichen will get the brunt of it early on.
He is Ryan Rothstein at Wise Rye on Twitter. You can listen to him overnights at WIP, also on Bison Live, also at the Philadelphia City Cast at Bet Rivers. So you do some gambling stuff. So I'm going to end it there, Ryan, with you and say a couple years ago, Mitchell Trubisky in the offseason had that sort of spike in MVP odds, and that, people were saying that's good value with Mitchell Trubisky. And I think I laughed out loud when I first got the email that people were actually thinking that's good value. I turned out to be right on that one. It was not good value. I'm not often right, but we got a similar sort of spike for Jalen Hurts, in that people are looking at him as good value in the MVP race. Is that a spit take moment like Mitchell Trubisky? Half and half, a little bit more. I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, that is not good value. All right. Just because it's a big number, people like to say it's good value.
Yeah.
All right. Like, no, he's 35, 40, 50 to 1 for a reason. All right. It's not good value. Okay. Like, you're gonna lose your money.
But when it's 100 to 1 and it comes down to 35 to 40 to 1, I think that's when people start to open their eyes. That's what happened with Mitch. That's what happened with Jalen. And they say, oh, what's going on here? And they see, oh, people might know something. Still not good value.
Yeah. For me, it's I need to see him play 6, 7, 8 games before I talk about value on Mr. Hurts as a quarterback. So that's my betting tidbit. Just because it's a big number doesn't mean it's good value. I think that's so funny when people say that.
All right, I may need one more betting tidbit. You got an opinion on who's going to win the U.S. Open? They teed off about an hour ago, I guess. Is there value to be found there as to who's going to win the U.S. Open?
Yeah, Phil Mickelson. Oh, no, wait, never mind. Too soon. Too soon. I like John Rahm.
Okay. Going with John Rahm this week. He's one of the favorites, but I love betting golf because you can figure it out. You can be good. You can handicap it well. And the guy comes in third and you bet to win. Sorry, you win nothing. So if you ever do get it right, even if you take a guy like John Rahm, who's a figure ahead of time, it's very difficult to pick the winner of a golf tournament. So I appreciate you going out there on the limb. We appreciate you coming out with us, Rothstein. Thanks much, bud. We'll do it again soon.
Anytime, fellas. I had fun. Thank you.